to the grotto. Honourable member for St. Michael West, I've spoken to you about this before. The grotto, for example, is a lovely housing area, housing estate. It just doesn't have the parking space. I remember I bought from Courts. I bought at the time, it was my second job. My first job, I used to stuff pillows at Vitafoam for 10 cents a pillow. But this was my second real job. I was working at the VAT office. And by my second or my third paycheck, I bought for my bedroom like a drawer. What do you call this thing? Like a chest of drawers. It was fairly big. And again, you try to overcompensate. So I bought this chest of drawers. And when you get to the pine door, that thing could not get through the door. We try it to the side, we angle it, we position it, we do everything, beat it up. Couldn't get it through the door. My neighbor told me he could take off the top and we could put it back on. But when you look at those housing estates, especially ones where you go upstairs, those are not meant to carry anything upstairs. It's that you build and you expect people to stay in the circumstances that you build. In those housing units, many of us had taken off the left banister because they couldn't take anything up the stairs, Honourable Deputy Speaker. And again, I just think we have to think about it. When I think about the grotto and about Valerie and those areas, we didn't build enough parking spaces for the people who reside there. Some of them don't have an elevator. When they do have an elevator, they're not meant to carry the capacity of people. You got people on the uppermost floor, but there's no way to get the garbage down to the bottom, as in the case in the grotto. I think we have to think clearly about our housing solutions. Yeah, so that everybody has a minimum standard. I heard the Honourable member for St. James Central when he spoke about two different cities in one country. Almost, It's a tale of two cities. So that when we build these facilities, we have to build in a way that prioritizes people. I say all this again just to reinforce the point that I believe the people who reside in these housing areas who are now getting their deeds have paid their dues, Mr. Deputy Speaker. And I'm very happy to be in the Parliament that has made sure that that has happened, Mr. Speaker. So without a title, you cannot borrow anything. You could talk chalk, but when you go to the bank and say the bank that the government promised you this and the government, if you don't have it, nothing in the deal for you. And I'm very happy to see that we're now giving persons titles so that they can borrow, they can live with a certain degree of dignity. Importantly, for those of us who now think about our children, sir, because for a long time, people born into certain classes never thought about leaving anything for the children. Now you can leave a house for your child. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, it is a mindset shift that many of us did not expect to have within our own generation, Mr. Deputy Speaker. You can leverage your asset, and you can then move from just having it as a burden to then being able to use it as an asset, use it as a tool to advance your own interests, Mr. Deputy Speaker. And I believe that this is where real development starts. This is real bottom-up development. Those of us who are theorists, in a way, we talk about it. We write about it. Some of us had the opportunity, like the member for St. Michael South Central and myself, to teach it. But, Mr. Deputy Speaker, this is it. This is really what it is. This is really what bottom-up development should look like. And that is why I think it has to be inclusive, to the extent that we think it through as we build out our other and additional housing developments. The people in the grotto are consistently complaining. The quality of the units, the pipes falling apart, those things. I spoke to the Honourable member for St. Michael West recently, and he has given me the assurance that in the estimates this year, and I know him to be an honest and decent man, he's given me the assurance that in the estimates this year, he has the resources to be able to uplift the grotto and do some work also in Valerie. But the thing is, we find ourselves as a government since 2018, but a lot of these problems we came and we found. When the grotto was opened, it was rushed to be opened just before an election after they had it closed for a long time, after the opposition, the Democratic Labour Party government had it closed for a long time. The tiles were coming up, the sinks were not working, there was leaking from the start. Some of these were so structural that it would require that we have to do serious work to be able to address them, Mr. Deputy Speaker. I speak on behalf of the people of the grotto now, because I know that they're keen in they may not be able to own their houses just yet, and some of them are doing rent to own, but I'm sure that they would like to have access to good quality living conditions as would anybody else, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir. But I believe when you own something, it changes how you plan. It gives you the opportunity to invest. I think beyond giving persons houses, I think we also have to go and do some education programs, though, about what owning an asset allows you to do. How you can use an asset really to advance your own life and to advance your own interests. We take for granted that people fully understand these things and people know these things. But having an asset that you can leverage to be able to finance perhaps your own education or a child's education and so on, sir, it gives you a sense of dignity. And we have to be able to inform the persons that they can do these things. This new asset is not just an asset on the book. It is something that you can use to make real your own experiences, Mr. Deputy Speaker. We have thousands of people who, when this bill is passed, will be sitting on thousands of dollars in value. And I believe it is the responsibility of this Parliament, beyond the good deed and the good work being done by the Minister of Housing, it is the responsibility of this Parliament to put those persons in a place, sir, where they understand that they can now unlock value in the houses that they own, Mr. Deputy Speaker. During the election, I had course and reason oftentimes to ask persons to cast their minds to what the new republic must mean. What does the new republic mean? When we say that we are a republic, how is that different from the idea of Barbados as it was? It's more than just a ceremonial change. I have seen enough, even since we've come back into office, but during the last term in particular, the focus on people being able to own things, ownership, divestment so that people own things, Mr. Speaker, sir. It is alarming in some ways that people find the idea of ownership to be problematic, or that people find the idea of ownership to be challenging, because we as a people weren't raised to believe that we can own things, Mr. Deputy Speaker. So this idea of ownership, I think, is important. It is part of the formation of the new republic and what the new republic will mean for many of us, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir. I would also want to say, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, that as I near the end of my very brief intervention, Mr. Speaker, sir, that this is about making the reality for people better than it used to be, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir. It is already the case in all the constituencies and in all the areas that have been mentioned by the Honourable Member who led this bill, where the reality is immediately going to change. I have sat here and I've received enough messages from the people in the Bay Land to know that I have to ask the Honourable Member, Minister responsible for housing, to speak when he closes to the people in Bayville who would have been living in those houses since 1950, some of them, and they want to know what will happen to them. Where are they in the whole scheme of things, in the whole equation of things? I know there's an answer, and I know it's a good answer, but I would have the Honourable Member for St. Michael West address the question, Mr. Deputy Speaker. Why isn't Bayville on this bill? Because it's just human nature naturally to hear that all these persons are getting through, but they did not hear Bayland in that conversation, Mr. Speaker. And while I'm at it, I should also say on behalf of the people who live in Field Place and Gullyfield and Jessamine, and the others who live over on the other side in Watermill, that a number of those government units too are also in need of some serious repair, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir. And I look forward to having those works done, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir. So as I close, I want to go back to the bill, Mr. Speaker, sir. I like the safeguards, the qualifications that are in the bill, so that you can see, for example, there's a qualification criteria for long-term occupancy, which makes sense to me. So you don't just come and inherit the house, but that you have had to live in it for a period of time. You have to be in good standing, so people should pay their bills and continue to pay their bills, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir. And I also look forward to the capacity for there to be some access, sir, to persons being able to get proper utilities in some of these areas. In the bottom closed block, it used to be that at the end of the block, they would have, I don't know if it's still the same, but they would have the 8 meters at the end of the block, and they were all exposed. And sometimes spiteful people, when they get away with somebody else, will go and lock off the person current, put on a lock and lock it, so that the other person with whom they had a feud couldn't have access to electricity. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, I hope that we're able to make sure that these things, as funny as they were as a child, they're obviously serious inconveniences. So as I close, Mr. Speaker, sir, I believe that what we've seen here is a shift in philosophy that is consistent with our commitment during the election, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir. I believe it is the same philosophy that we expressed when we moved to a republic. I feel that it finds its same roots, it has the same birthplace as those of us from this country, the generation before my generation, who lived through independence, who felt that there was a need for us to do things differently, and that ownership then had to mean something. And I think, as I close, this is the first time, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, and we should not take it for granted, this is the first time that many people will be able to say that I own a house in this country, Mr. Deputy Speaker. And for those who've never owned a house, that is a powerful, powerful statement to be able to make. And this bill has allowed thousands of people to say that I own a house. So it's not only going to move forward families, it's not only going to move forward individuals and communities, the ones that I mentioned, but that this bill is going to move forward a nation. And I give it my fullest support, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, and I look forward to seeing in the press and other places persons receiving their deeds. Those few words say I support the bill, and thank you.
Honourable member for St. Michael West.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker. First and foremost, I would like to thank all honourable members who spoke on this bill. I think there were some common themes there, and I will try my best to address each one. So the honourable member for Christchurch East Central, and I think the honourable member for St. Michael South Central, both touched on the point that we need to make sure at NHC that when we hand over these units, and I think the honourable member for St. James Central also said that there should be some hand-holding, to use his words. So you're going to get your title, but make sure that when you receive your title and your property, that if you have any plans to increase the property for your family, as the honourable member for Christchurch East Central said, that you do so responsibly, and that you certainly seek the necessary planning approvals. In addition to that, make sure that you do not interrupt any of the access ways and points so that the public can still traverse those places, and that we can still go in NHC to carry out the works of the sewage, as the honourable member for St. Michael South East said. And most certainly, the bill, the underpinnings of this bill, is the Terrace Units Act of 2013, which does stipulate that a unit cannot be transferred if it restricts access to areas used legitimately by neighboring tenants, public utilities or government agencies, members of the public as well. So the NHC will continue to maintain these communal areas such as sewage, etc. And that was something that the honourable member for St. Michael South East did raise. But I'm highly moved by the submission by the honourable member from St. Michael South. And given that he is a Pine boy, as we all know, a pretty humble Pine boy who has taken his career to highest heights and is an example of someone who has made it through hard work and dedication. And the truth is that he lived in one of these units and it was a shelter. But now we get to go to those residents of the Pine in Barton Close, and we get to say that you now have the security of owning a home and everything that goes along with that. But I go further, because the honourable member from St. James Central raised this point, that it has to be about community development as well. And I'm happy to say today, Mr. Deputy Speaker, that I'm sorry that the Honourable Member for St. Philip North is not here, because we are in the process of launching Vineyard, which is a 1,200 home solution. And in that development, I can tell you that the Honourable Member for St. Michael South Central, given that she has the responsibility for planning right now, in that development we have green spaces. We have a small bars football field. We have a basketball court. We have jogging trails. In addition to that, we will also be constructing a small commercial center, so that, as the Honourable Member for St. James Central said in his intervention, that we also need to look at vending facilities as well, so that we can have a true community and community development. So I'm really excited to be part of this, and this will break ground hopefully later this year, and that certainly will be the model for future developments that this government is involved with in terms of joint ventures in this country. And I go further, as the Honourable Member for St. Michael Southeast said so passionately about her constituents in the Pine, and obviously the need to offload that density, that when we get to Lower Burnie, that we will also be looking at those types of designs to try to correct a wrong. And that wrong was planning gone awry. And the Honourable Member for St. Michael South Central made that point quite eloquently, that planning in how you look at your land management, and traffic management, they all are intricately intertwined. We know that a lot of the land in this country, being that we are a small country with limited land resources, a lot of the land exists in the north, in St. Lucie. And the truth is, we also know that the road arteries to the north are extremely congested.
Very true.
And I know that the Honourable Member from St. James North knows this very well. This is quite a vexatious issue for his constituents, and also the Honourable Member for St. James Central. But the right man is on the job. The Honourable Member for St. Michael South is going to make sure that we do that widening, with my help, of course, to be able to alleviate those issues, because development is all-encompassing. I can't go on, St. Lucie has the land, but we have to make sure that we fix the water issue, which we are, to make sure that we have adequate water resources, however we can. And we have to fix the traffic situation, because obviously if I go and I put in another 1,200 homes in the north, we know what that will do for the traffic situation. So that expansion, it bears responsibility for us as a government. We can't just overdevelop with not thinking about the impact on our infrastructure, our roads, our water, etc. So, Mr. Deputy Speaker, I commend this bill as well, and the truth is that this is, I was mentioning to the Honourable Member for St. James North, that it is a simple bill in its construction, but it's certainly very powerful. And what the Honourable Member for St. Michael South, rings true, that this is empowerment in action. This is why we were elected, again, a three-peat. And I said this before, my favorite athlete is Michael Jordan. And he certainly was a guy who did 2 three-peats. And that bears a lot of responsibility on our part. And we do take this job very seriously. So this simple yet powerful bill, it gives security for families, opportunity for investment, and stability for our communities. So, Mr. Deputy Speaker, with those few words, I do ask that this bill now pass and be read a second time.
The question is that this bill be read a second time. All those members in favor, please say aye. All those against, please say no. I think the ayes have it.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, I beg to ask that you do leave the chair and have this House resolve into committee for further consideration of this bill.
The question is I do know of the chair and this House dissolve into committee. All those honourable members in favor, please say aye. All those against, please say no. I think the ayes have it.
This Honourable House is now in committee.
Clause 1.
Mr. Chair, I do know that clause 1 stand part.
The question is that clause 1 stand part. All honourable members in favor, say aye. Honourable members against, say no. Methinks the ayes have it.
Clause 2.
Mr. Chair, I ask that clause 2 stand part.
The question is that clause 2 stand part. All honourable members in favor, say aye. Honourable members against, say no. Methinks the ayes have it.
Clause 3.
Mr. Chair, I ask that clause 3 stand part.
The question is that clause 3 stand part. All honourable members in favor, say aye. Honourable members against, say no. Methinks the ayes have it.
Clause 4.
Mr. Chair, I ask that clause 4 stand part.
The question is that clause 4 stand part. All honourable members in favor, say aye. Honourable members against, say no. Methinks the ayes have it.
Clause 5.
Mr. Chairman, I ask that clause 5 stand part.
The question is that clause 5 stand part. All honourable members in favor, say aye. Honourable members against, say no. Methinks the ayes have it.
The schedule. The schedule. The schedule.
Mr. Chair, I ask that the schedule be the schedule to the bill.
The question is that the schedule be the schedule to the bill. All honourable members in favor, say aye. Honourable members against, say no. Methinks the ayes have it.
Mr. Chair, I do now ask that you report progress to the Speaker of one passing and bill in committee.
The question is that I do now report the passing of one bill in committee to His Honour the Deputy Speaker. All honourable members in favour, say aye. Honourable members against, say no. Methinks the ayes have it.
The chairman of committees have reported the passing of one bill in committee.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, I do beg that you move that that the bill be read a third time.
The question is that this bill be read a third time. All those honourable members in favour, please say aye. All those against, please say no. I think the ayes have it.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, I do now move the passing of one bill.
There'll be no pass and so cited.
Right. I beg now that this bill be now passed and so cited as the State Acquisition and Vesting of Property Act 2026.
Yeah.
This bill is do not pass and so cited. The question is that this bill do not pass and so cited. All those members in favor, please say aye. All those against, please say no. I think the ayes have it. This bill is now passed and so cited.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, I beg to move the suspension of the House until 4 p.m.
The question is, this House be suspended until 4 p.m. All those members in favor, please say aye. All those against, please say no. I think the ayes have it. This House now stands suspended until 4 p.m.